I'm so happy to be talking to my friend Susan Burton today. Susan is an incredible activist and now a doctor as well. She was awarded her doctorate last year from Cal State Northridge, and so I should be calling you Dr. Burton. You have created A New Way of Life, which is an incredible reentry program for women coming out of incarceration in Los Angeles and helping the reentry process. So thank you so much for talking to us, Ms. Burton and Susan, Dr. Burton, and maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Natalie, for taking time for this chat. So I'm Susan Burton, and I am the founder of A New Way of Life Reentry Project, located in Los Angeles County. What we do there is we provide support for women who are being released from prisons and jails all over the state.
And I learned so much from reading your book, Becoming Ms. Burton. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what led you to writing the book.
I wrote Becoming Ms. Burton because the stories and the reality of women that we incarcerate was not being told. In the whole criminal justice system, and when we talk about the criminal justice system, we always talk about men. We talk about men and young people, and there's this ever-growing population of women, which are the fastest growing segment of the criminal justice system, and we don't talk about them. So I felt like perhaps if I wrote my own story about my incarceration and my struggle, then that might put women into the conversation around the incarceration rates and the mass incarceration of people.
I was so surprised by so many of the statistics around incarcerated women. What do you think are some of the major aspects of the incarceration of women that's different than the incarceration of men?
I believe what drives much of the incarceration is domestic violence, women protecting themselves from their abuser, poverty, mental health, and addiction. And I also believe that these are areas that we could address in a more humane way, areas that we could resource as a nation and address without punitive measures like punishment by incarceration.
Can you talk about how you feel race plays into the treatment of women and over policing and, of course, mass incarceration, how a Black woman's experience or a brown woman's experience would be different than a white woman's experience?
You know, in the book, Becoming Ms. Burton, I write about how I had always been sentenced to go to prison. And I'm laying in my bunk, and I have a bunkie who's white, and she tells me about this place called California Rehabilitation Center. And it was my, I think, 4th trip to prison that I found out about this from my white bunkie. And she had been sent there for her addiction problem. Wow. I had been sent to prison for my addiction problem. And then when I finally did find my way to recovery, it was in Santa Monica. And in Santa Monica, people are not incarcerated for drug problems. They're given treatment or court cards or help. And that's much different from what happens in South LA in the Black community. One of the realities that we look at when we look at numbers, you know, Black women are like 7% of the population, but we're 30% of the incarcerated population. So just looking at those numbers gives you an idea of the level of, I guess, intolerance for Black skin, the level of inopportunity for Black women. And then you think about all of the children that are left behind and the separation of families, the deterioration of families.
That was one of the things that struck me most in your book, and also when we visited jail and prison together, how many of the women who were incarcerated are mothers, and how devastating it is for them to be separated from their children. How do you think that could change? I remember you talking about, jail being punitive as opposed to like actually protecting society. Like some of these women's alleged crimes are don't necessarily make them like a danger to society. How does a new way of life offer an alternative to incarceration?
So a new way of life is a community-based organization that consists of single family homes throughout South Los Angeles and Long Beach. And at a new way of life, we help women to heal, to look at root causes, not only their incarceration and their crime, but root causes of poverty, and support them to become the best person that they can be. When we were at the jail here in Los Angeles, we met a woman named Shakia. And after meeting her, I dove a little deeper into her story. And she had just had a life of hardship. At 4, she watched her mother get killed in a drive-by. At 7, she watched her father get killed while he was screaming out her name, trying to get back to the car where she sat in the back seat watching everything that happened. At 13, she was trafficked. You know, it was just one thing after another, one thing after another. And had she had perhaps a level of support through all of this, maybe she'd have found a better path, or I can't even say a better path, because she had an incident and a car accident, and she got charged. She lost her child in that car accident.
That's the most horrible story I've ever heard.
But the bright side, she lost her child and got charged with it. But the bright side is after we left, we came together as a community and we raised the money to post bail for Shakia, that she could get a break in her life and support. And now she's living in a new way of life's homes. She's visiting the 2 children that she had left after the accident. When we saw her, she was in a wheelchair.
Yeah. She's
now able to walk better.
That's the best news.
And you remember what she said to us? She said, "I'm gonna walk out of here."
Said that. What determination and strength and resilience.
So what a new way of life does, is so much to help women get their lives on track, to help our community have healthy, vibrant, strong individuals walking through it, working through it, parenting through it. And, we repair the damages of mass incarceration, and we advocate, and everybody can advocate for there to be a more humane approach.
Do you think that decarceration, because of the pandemic, could influence future work for decarceration?
We have all of these people that we incarcerate for just social problems. And then we have people that do pose a threat to the safety of the community, and really they need rehabilitation, not punishment. Um, but I'm hoping that as we decarcerate because of the pandemic, that we'll look up and say, aha, we didn't need to have that many people incarcerated. Um, they're here, they're in the community. Our crime rates have not risen. People are getting the resources they need to reestablish themselves. They don't pose a threat or a danger. You know, let's reevaluate what we've been doing and what we've done and do something different. So I'm very hopeful that will be the outcome of the decarceration efforts that are they're happening nationally. So yeah.
And are there any advocacy pushes that you are working on, that your allies are working on, that we should be aware of?
Yes. So we are working with a group in Florida to reinstate the vote for Floridians who have been convicted of a felony charge. So in Florida, there are hundreds of thousands of people that can't vote because they've been convicted of a crime. And I mean, these are people. My friend who's Desmond Meade, who's running that campaign, said that he started it because his wife was running for the city council and he couldn't vote for her. So he's an attorney. He's an upstanding citizen. And there's a whole lot of other people in Florida that should have their right to vote reinstated. So that's in Florida. In California, there's going to be a ballot measure called ACA 6 that will reinstate the vote for people who have been released from prison and are on parole. So those are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who come home, they get a job, they work, they go back to their family, back to their community, but they can't vote. And that's just an extension of exclusion and punishment. So we want to reinstate the vote for people. I believe that's good, healthy civic engagement, civic participation.
I want to also, because you're very humble and you won't say it yourself, but every woman I've met through you who lives in a new way of life, housing, or who you've helped get out of imprisonment, incarceration, has just described you as such an angel and the first person in their life who believes in them and who has shown them the love and support, and to be able to give that all the time, and that generosity is truly like another level of humanity that I have never encountered before. So I just want to say that we are grateful, those of us who watch you and support you and follow your work, and that for so many women, you have been the first loving influence and guiding influence, and you just see the blossoming in people when they have just that sense of belief and community in them. So
you cheer me up a little bit. I want to let you know.
Well, that was not my intention, but it is meant with great love and truth. You are truly one of our heroes, and we're so lucky to have you.